Welcome to the Fantasy Thinker. I'm Jared, and welcome to the final episode of Comics versus Prose. I know, it's been a long journey, and it would be a sad day when I finally retire this series, but the time has come, for I have completed Assassin's Apprentice, and I have completed the comic book series by Dark Horse Comics, the adaptation of Assassin's Apprentice, with Assassin's Apprentice Volume 3, Number 6, which actually took a couple months to come out. So there was a big delay on this final issue. And if it was because the artists needed time to finish and craft their finely tuned pencils and inks and colors, then that makes sense because it truly is a wonderful, wonderful piece of artwork that adapted this novel. Once again, the script by Jody Hauser, illustrated by Ryan Kelly, beautifully, colored by Jordie Bellaire, again beautifully, and even the lettering by Hassan Otsmane-Elhaou, if I said that right, is outstanding. And the cover art, of course, is by Anna Steinbauer. And so you see, if anybody who have read the book may recognize that scene, although it looks a little deeper than I imagined. But anyways, it is there, and it is in the book, and it is in the comic. And so with this final episode, I was going to approach it and make it quicker, make not go so deep into the weeds, into the book. But then, of course, I just started noticing all this stuff. So here we go, like usual. We're getting into the story here. This comic starts right in the middle of a chapter that we left off from last issue, and that was the chapter called Dilemmas, chapter 22. And it starts off when he came to, everything hurt. So it's very interesting here because right off the bat I noticed that the voices that Fitz hears, while he's down on the ground there, you see him down right on the ground. Uh, in the comic, they're not identified. In the book, they are. So that was an interesting choice. We eventually understand that the commanding kind of jerk like voices was his Prince. I forget his name now, but it was that prince that kind of betrayed him here, Regal, and so that was an interesting change from the book. They show him kicking him. The description here, but they use the artwork to display that, and they also I got some more notes here. They skipped a bit, and then they go to page 2 here, and then in the book in the book it's there's no description in the novel of Fitz's magic and how it's seen by him. It is a little bit of how he feels about him, but most of the time it's just this description of opening up and flowing out of him, and that's pretty much it. And I really love the liberties that the comic book creators took to really show us a visual of the magic and showed us what Fitz is seeing through this magical coloring by the excellent colorist that was in here. And I just really like that, and I really like how they showed the animal's thoughts in these weird thought balloons that have this little sense of coloring around them as magic, and I really think that's an improvement actually on the kind of lack of description we get of magic in here. In the novel, it's very subtle, and it works very well for what the novel's doing. But the but I really love how the adapters approach this. Um, and so that continues on. And there's actually a lot skipped in here. There's one section here skipped. Um, Let me see here. Where the dog, where it's mentioned about the dog and the and how Burek takes him out into the grounds and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of description like there, and the um, the dog is telling them that he misses his master, and that's all skipped in here. They didn't include it in the book, and I wonder why, because there is kind of some relevancy later on, but you can only fit so much. Um, there's some let's see here, when he's giving him some water. Um, uh, there's, let's see, some extra dialogue thrown in here. Um, that into the comic that they didn't put into the book. So that was interesting, and it was, Burek talking to him about his abilities, so to speak. So there was there was some revelations in this part of the story that was interesting. That if you read the book, you'll know what they are. And so we move along here. We're moving into chapter 23, the wedding, and there was some good artwork about them sitting in the hilltop in the grayness before the dawn, and they really had the artwork show a lot of that stuff. Um, and they were like they were trying to figure out how to warn Verity, and there was a lot of there was some back and forth between Burek and uh, and Fitz, and also between the I think the mother of Ketrican, and they were trying to figure out that there was some dialogue in here about whether someone was bribable and stuff like that, which I was like, oh wow, they kind of skipped over that stuff, and they skipped over like a few things. And there was something that Burek was trying to give to Fitz that was his father's, but Fitz refused it, and that all was not in the comic. And I found that interesting that they left all that out because I found it interesting in the book, and so. Then they get right back into it. They take a lot of dialogue for pages 5 and 6 right out of the book here. I mean, it's almost exact, and if it's not exact, they use artwork to convey the same impressions that she describes in the book. And so that continues on as we go move page 6, 7. It's pretty exact, as we've come to expect from this adaptation. Uh, and there was one interesting line that, let's see here, page 8. He tells Fitz, "You have a fey mood on you," and in the book, Burek says, "You sound more like the fool than yourself," and they kind of skipped that. They took that out of there, and I kind of like, oh, how come the comic didn't want us to be reminded of the fool. I'm kind of curious about that. Uh, but either way, um, it's could have just been a room thing, like like we've discussed previously on this series, that adaptations have to make decisions, and you have to keep something out, and you got to change certain things to make the format work. And so there was the meeting with oh, what's that jerk's name? I can't remember. Um, wasn't Regal, was it? Yeah, it was Regal. Okay. The meeting with Regal, going into the pool, the sauna, the steam house, and that was kind of cut short in the comic compared to the book. They kind of cut short the confrontation with Burek getting taken from behind. But the point they got across very well. I thought that was a wise decision with a lot of this stuff, because they had to move the story along, and they had to get things going. And so the way that Regal tumbled him into the pool was and the way the pools looked and stuff was a little bit different in here, and the time he took to take off Fitz's clothes and tumble him into the pool, it was a much quicker in here than, and much more descriptive in the book, but it conveyed the same message, the same idea. And so there was some interesting stuff there. I thought it was really, really cool how, once again, they portrayed Fitz's going into his magical state when he's in the pool and possibly drowning, and he gets a hold of Prince Verity. That was pretty cool, and these whole sequences were very cool when he's telling him to beware, and it was just, I just love the visuals and how that was. I think it was just as exciting in the comic, if not more so than in the book. They just really did a great job. And when in this little flourish, when Prince Verity just does Galen in, does him in, like, you have failed. He took, like, what did they say? As a gardener pulls a weed from the earth, Verity pulled from the traitor all that was in him. That was just great. What a climactic ending to this horrible man, who was the bane of Fitz's young life, and really really fantastic. I really enjoyed how the comic pulled it off. And then I really enjoyed reading it afterwards as well. So, great job all around. Then we get into Aftermath, uh, episode 24. Verity uses his newfound power that he's borrowing from Fitz to appear before his new queen. And I love how they show all that stuff. He finally tells Fitz to let go, because he's going to drain him if you don't do it. And thus, we skip to the aftermath of Fitz being in bed. We don't yet know how he was rescued, but that's all explained. It gets pretty cool. And it goes on from there, pages 15, 16. There is a lot of there's a lot of exposition about what people think happened, and so this is like all it's all it's all like action that didn't happen within Fitz's sight. So it hasn't, he didn't experience it firsthand. This was all told to him, second, third person, what have you. And so he's relating it as a past events, and so the colorist it chooses to use that red type of sepia thing to relate it to us as well. And so I really like how they do that. They did that successfully throughout the whole series. And then we get finally to the final page. They really what I noticed was in those recaps and stuff like that, with all the red and stuff like that in the aftermath, they jumped around a lot. This it wasn't in order that it showed in the chapter in here. They jumped around a whole lot. They skipped a lot. There was stuff on the final page that the of the chapter that was like on page 16 here and on page 19 here, and like it really went out of order. And that's kind of the first time they've really done that with this novel, but I can see why. It's just a wrap up. It's just telling you the aftermath of what happened, of the climax of the big, conclusion of Fitz's story here. So finally we get to the final page, and the um, the final page is one paragraph of that chapter, and it's one page in the comic because it's that powerful. And I love this paragraph. I think it's just beautiful prose. So I'm going to read it to you. So if for some odd reason you haven't read this book and you haven't read these comics and you've been with me all this time, wow, you're something special. But so I'm assuming you've read this. um, so I'm gonna read this out loud because this is just beautiful and it really touched me. It was of one other I must speak, one dragged into that conflict and intrigue only by his loyalty to me. To the end of my days I will bear the scars he gave me. His worn teeth sank deeply into my hands several times before he managed to drag me from that pool. How he did it I will never know, but his head still rested on my chest when they found us. His mortal bonds to this world had broken. Nosy was dead. I believe he gave his life freely, recalling that we had been good to one another when we were puppies. Men cannot grieve as dogs do, but we grieve for many years. Ah, I just, I love that. That really hit me where it hurts, right? What an ending. Um, and so, yeah, that wraps up my series, comics versus prose. Um, there's no verse in this case. It's a beautiful blend. It's a beautiful adaptation of a really beautiful book, and I was happy to do this exercise. I am glad I did it. It was something really special that I don't think I'll be replicating again because it did take a long time, and there was and there was a lot involved to it. Well, I never say never, but we'll see. But at this point, if you stuck with me this whole time, thank you so much for sticking with me and watching and really participating. Those of you who have commented on my channel, I appreciate it a lot. And this is the final episode, so I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate it a lot. Thank you. Be good to each other, and you know, give me a like and subscribe, and let me know what you thought of the whole series as a whole. Bye now.